Rare Candy is a bad card, and I'm going to explain why. Welcome to Jank Play TCG. My name's Landon, and here we play Jank. And so, this is actually my first video that I'm recording back from my vacation, much needed. Oh, man. Still in a lot of pain from my foot injury and my back issues, but I'm so glad I didn't work. I actually didn't work for 2 weeks. One of those weeks was vacation. Another week was basically truck issues at work. So really glad to be back in the studio recording. And, boy, this card, I can't understand how this card gets printed. Let me read it to you. So it's Rare Candy Trainer Item Card. Many people are already familiar with this, but let's go ahead and read it, right? Choose one of your basic Pokemon in play. If you have a Stage 2 card in your hand that evolves from that Pokemon, put that card onto the basic Pokemon to evolve it, skipping the Stage 1. You can't use this card during your first turn, or on a basic Pokemon that was put into play this turn. So we understand how this works, right? If you have a basic Pokemon and a Stage 2 that evolves into, you can play the Rare Candy and skip the Stage 1 stage, and you know, you're evolving slightly faster. The cost is you need the Stage 2 and the Rare Candy in hand in order to skip that evolution, which can be difficult at times, but you know, it's not overly difficult. In fact, the deck I'm showing off tomorrow heavily relies on Rare Candy, to the point where if too many are prized, you basically lose. But you'll see that deck tomorrow. So I want to talk about Rare Candy because at the Portland Regionals, I noticed there's a lot there to celebrate Pokemon. All types of Pokemon. Obviously, they had the VGC and the Go players there as well. So a lot of it was just generic Pokemon stuff, not a lot of TCG stuff. And it started making me think about my previous, experience with TCGs, playing Magic in high school, playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In junior high, high school, and after, and not so much in high school, honestly, and playing Transformers TCG, where I first tried out being a YouTuber, and turns out I really enjoy it. But it made me start thinking about those games, right? And how those games I approached as someone that enjoys games, And Pokemon TCG, definitely the gateway into it is the Pokemon video games, the Pokemon anime, the other Pokemon stuff. TCG is a very nerdy thing to be into with Pokemon. Like, even as far as like just being in Pokemon, the TCG is considered like the more nerdy aspect of it. If you didn't know that, sorry for that news break. So it has me thinking about Rare Candy. Let me jump into the game, and maybe I can explain my point better there. So I already have loaded up here Bellsprout, which evolves into Weeping Bell, which then evolves into Victory Bell. I don't know why I have it on this screen. I usually have it on this screen. However, we're going to just keep going with it, right? So, if we look on Victory Bell, right up here, we can see that Victory Bell evolves from Weeping Bell. And if we go back, Weeping Bell evolves from Bellsprout. Alright, I'm following. And Bellsprout is a basic Pokemon. And basic Pokemon, they have rules such as you can just play them onto your bench or into the field, however you see fit. Where an evolution usually needs to evolve. There are ways to cheat it, like Rare Candy. But, right. So, if you aren't familiar with Pokemon, how do you know what Bellsprout evolves into? Especially when it comes to Rare Candy. I think that is how Rare Candy is broken. How Rare Candy doesn't make sense and is a bad mechanically written card. You see, let's jump back to Rare Candy. Right here. Choose one of your basic Pokemon in play, and if you have a Stage 2 in your hand that evolves from that Pokemon, put that card onto the basic Pokemon it evolved. To evolve it, we got it, right? Let's jump back to Weeping Bell here. Where does it say it evolves from Bellsprout? That is bad card design. It requires outside knowledge of the game in order to function. And that is just bad card design. And I can't really think of many other examples of this occurrence in the TCG where a card is written that requires outside knowledge. And of course, most people are like, of course everyone knows Bellsprout evolves into Victory Bell. Everyone loves Pokemon. Right, but what about those players that don't? What about those people that are playing Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, the One Piece TCG that just came out? If you aren't familiar with the characters, or the Pokemon in this instance, that card makes no sense. Rare Candy makes no sense. The best way I would fix this is having Rare Candy do... There's a couple different ways to fix this. The one way is you reveal... Maybe you search your deck and reveal the stage 1 that the basic evolves into. And then you can skip it to the stage 2. But that doesn't work if you aren't playing the stage 1, like tomorrow's deck. Another example would be that you play Rare Candy and then you play the stage 2 and then you can discard the stage 1 or something like that. Again, if you're not playing the stage 1, that doesn't work. What really needs to happen here is the stage 2 needs to explain what the basic was. What basics can evolve into the stage 2. Because currently, as it's written, I don't think Rare Candy makes any sense. I don't think Rare Candy functions. Yeah, that is how Rare Candy is a bad card. And I know people are going to be disagreeing with me in the comments, and please do. Please explain to me how this card makes sense if you do not know what stage 2s evolve from basics. If you don't know that, how do you play Rare Candy? Well, of course you're going to know that, because you're putting Rare Candy in your deck, and it's just a barrier. That's all I'm saying. If you're playing against someone that doesn't know the Bellsprout line, and it's like, oh, I have Bellsprout, Rare Candy into Victory Bell. I guess that's okay. There's no way to prove it in-game. And I think that's the biggest flaw that Rare Candy has, is there's no proof that these stage 2s evolve from these basics in the game itself, where other things are usually explained fairly well. Going back to the game, looking at Victory Bell, the stage 2 evolves from Weeping Bell. Sorry, arrow will be on the screen. Evolves from Weeping Bell. You can see that. Oh, you can't see the arrow. There we go. Now you can. Evolves from Weeping Bell. You can see that clearly on the card. But you cannot see that evolves from Bellsprout. So, this is going to be, a shortish video. Rare Candy's written poorly, mechanically speaking. It is a bad card in my opinion. Not that it's bad functionally, because everyone's playing it. It works. It's a fantastic card. I love it. Tomorrow's deck will really show it. However, I think it needs to be written better in the future. And I think this is just one of those things where you don't think about it. Where the designers are like, everyone knows Pokemon. Everyone's familiar with Pokemon. We can get away with this. But what if you can't? I strongly encourage the designers to rework Rare Candy, although I don't expect anyone to be listening to me. This is just a fun video that I thought would be interesting. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on this. And if there's any other cards that have weird writing like this, something where it might require out-of-game knowledge. I can't think of anything currently, but, if you look at Level Ball, which searches out for 90 HP Pokemon, every Pokemon has an HP. So it's very easy. You can just search for that HP Pokemon. But when you're playing Rare Candy and it's evolving into a stage 2 that maybe you're not familiar with, it does become an issue, Especially someone outside the game. It's like, oh yeah, Oddish can evolve into Gloom and then Vileplume. Okay, and you can Rare Candy into Vileplume. What do you mean you're evolving this one into Blossom? That's a different Pokemon. Like, how does that evolve into, It just starts adding issues if you're not familiar with Pokemon. And I get it. The cost of entry for the Pokemon TCG is being familiar with Pokemon. Is knowing the 1,000 plus Pokemon that are currently in the universe, and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm just rambling at this point. I want to hear your guys' opinion about Rare Candy. Could it be written better? How would you write it better? Or is it fine how it is and I'm a crazy old man? Let me know down in the comments. Please like this video if you enjoyed this content. Subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. And join the Discord and we can just hang out, talk Pokemon, talk about weird decks that I'm working on. You kind of see previews of what I'm going to show in a week. And we can just chat more directly. It's a lot of fun, you know? I've even got a bot in there for you to quickly look up cards. It's possibly my favorite feature of the Discord currently. But you could be the next favorite feature if you join it. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, until next time, keep playing Jank.